So we're at the Intel UK event with Andrew from Gigabyte.
Hi, Hal.
What we've got here is Gigabyte's Z97 board with the new Intel SKU CPUs. So if you could just cover...
Yeah, sure. So what we've got here are two examples of the new Gigabyte gaming range of motherboards. So these are the Gigabyte Z97 Gaming 7 motherboards. So like Hal just said, they're based on Z97 chipset technology from Intel, and they're using the latest Devil's Canyon CPUs. So what we've got here on this system is running a i5. So that's the 4690, and that's just happily sitting and running away there. So all of these new boards from Gigabyte basically are designed specifically for gamers. We have a top end or a full range of motherboards designed from basic workstation to gaming to overclocking and stuff. These boards here are designed specifically for gaming, so as you can see they've got the separate area there for audio, so that's actually separated from the normal PCB to stop crosstalk. So basically you've got the very best audio going through on there. Also the networking's been improved, and that we use the Bigfoot networking chips so that you basically get the best pings possible for when you're doing professional gaming. And then the rest of the features of the board basically are from Gigabyte, so like the dual BIOS and things along those lines. What I'll do is I'll show you the system that we've got over here. So this system again is running on the Gaming 7. We've got 8 gigs worth of memory and some rated Intel hard drives on there. So the CPU itself is the 4790K, which works as standard out of the box at 4 gig and will automatically turbo on our motherboards to 4.4 gig. So you can just see that here. There's the CPU-Z just talking about the speeds that things are working at. So there is an example. You can see here the actual CPU title there working away at 88 watts. 1150, which is the pin type. There's the voltage, and you can see the model name of the CPU and things. And at the moment, because it's idle, it's basically running a lot slower than it normally would do. But obviously, as soon as you start putting any pressure on the system, running any applications, that will automatically jump up to 4 gig and will turbo up to 4.4. But what I wanted to show you guys just now is just a quick thing on overclocking and how you can actually overclock these systems. A little bit of a warning: if you're going to start overclocking, I highly advise that you log on to various forums and basically slowly but surely build up your knowledge of overclocking before you start doing it, because you can actually kill your PC by doing it. But what I wanted to show you today is just the kind of performance that you can get out of these new CPUs and the boards when you've been using them for a little while. Okay. So this is the new BIOS for the Gigabyte Gaming 7 motherboards. You can see that it's EUFI, so it's a GUI BIOS, which means you can basically use the mouse in there and pretty much do what you like to the system. So integrated controllers, various other bits and pieces.
All the people who've gone away, somewhere else,
Right, so as I was saying, so this is the new Gigabyte BIOS, so pretty much you can do everything within here, and you can overclock the system and do various bits and pieces that you want to do with it. If you give me a second, what I'll do is just quickly load through. Okay, so in the BIOS, as you can see, what you can do is here you can change the various frequencies and pretty much do everything that you'd be able to do in a standard BIOS. I'm going to go to the classic BIOS mode because I've been using PCs for quite a time and I'm very used to using just the keyboard to do those bits and pieces. So if you bear with me a second. So you can see that's what the older BIOS screen looks like. It looks like, so some of you guys that have been using PCs for a while might recognise the similar layout to some of the other things that we've done. But we're running our latest F6 BIOS. As you can see, the CPU is running at standard turbo speed there, 4.4 gig. So you can see it's just sitting just underneath 4.4. and you can see there's 8 gigs worth of memory, and the system's happily sitting there working away at about 35 to 37 degrees with a voltage of 1.21 volts going through to the CPU for the V-core. So what I'll do is I'll just quickly show you an overclock here for an example. So I'm just going in and enabling the XMP profiling for the memory so that I know the memory is working at the maximum speeds that it works at. So it's gone from 1333 now to 1600. And here you can see you've got the CPU clock ratios. So the new Devil's Canyon CPUs, basically any of the K CPUs from Intel, are multiplier unlocked, which basically means that you can change the frequencies of the CPUs and you can overclock them via the multipliers. So I'll show you here just a quick example. So what I'm doing is I'm changing the CPU multiplier there, which is standardly set at 4 to 4.8, so that should give us an overclock of about 4.8 gig. Okay, I'm just going to manually go through and adjust the CPU cores themselves. In here I'm just changing a few of the safety features that are put into the BIOS to monitor the CPUs, because it basically, now I'm pushing it further than it's supposed to actually go.
You just mentioned that sort of stuff.
Okay, and what I'm doing here is just adjusting the V-core for the CPU to give some extra volts for the overclock. Just done that. Just see how this is going.
I mean, obviously the bottom, I'm sure we'll eventually have this is one of the first proper ones, but it's strange because we went from, not being invited to, we're invited to Amazon next week because we're Amazon affiliates with other shows and stuff.
It'll be across multiple days, so
straight people that always want to kind of want.
Yeah, you guys can still do what you need to do at your game room, but then
Alright, Phil, ready?
kind of all over, like West Coast, Oregon.
Yeah, I got that on the US. Yeah, I'll do your own stuff. So what part are we covering in this one?
Okay, so I've got this system now set up so that it should boot into Windows at 4.8 gig. So as I said, the CPU comes at 4 gig and the turbo to 4.4. All I've done here is just tweaked it a little bit so that it will now be working at 4.8 gig, just for the performance wise.
Thank you.
So it's just loading in the RAID there.
Hi guys, and welcome to Tech Team Chapter. Today we're at the Intel Blogger Fair with ASUS, and today we're going to take a look at the CPU board, the latest range. What is new, better, different, awesome about this board?
The back. We'll say that this is over to the Z97 Mark 1. So you kind of go to the Z97, there's not a huge difference in terms of the capability of the chipset. So what we've done in the kind of time with the new Z97 chipset is sort of refined.
So from here, what you can see is you can basically see the system's gone in. If you look at the CPU there, you can see that the core speed of the CPU is now running at 4.8 gig. And what I'm doing
is stable with
specific features that is on this board that you may have added because it's a gaming series, or some ones that you've added specifically because it's the new Z97 line. So
is that everything you want to
other than it being a Z97 board, what have you added purely because it's a gaming series board?
Okay, so with all of the gaming series boards, what we've done is we've added in the separate area here for audio and the creative audio chips. So what that basically does is it's separated from the PCB, so it stops any crosstalk, which obviously can affect the audio and things along those lines. So where it's on a slightly separate PCB, you're getting much better audio with much better channels. And what we've also ordered is the creative Qualcomm Bigfoot networking chip. So what that does is basically maximises the pings that you're going to get, or reduces the time for the packets to basically be sent through and stuff. So what you're doing is getting a much better ping, a much better latency for when you're gaming online. And what they've also done is added the extra heat sinks and things, and here on top of the board what you can see is we've actually added all the overclocking features as well. So not only is this board designed for gaming, it's designed with overclocking in mind as well, because you know that gamers are going to want to maximise the frames per second that they can actually get out of the system. So here's the voltage regulation modules, and then there's the Cmos BIOS reset switches here, and you can swap between the dual BIOSes. And what that basically means is when you're overclocking, obviously it's one of those things that what you need to do is you need to obviously adjust voltages, change the frequencies and things along those lines. Every single CPU will overclock slightly differently, no matter whether it's a standard i7 K series. All of them will perform slightly differently depending on the grade of silicon that's actually in there. What you need to do is you need to tweak these, so you can save profiles in the BIOS as an example here, and basically just say, right, okay, this is my 4.6 overclock, this is my 4.8, this is my 5 gig overclock as an example, and obviously if the system's running a little bit hot and things along those lines, you can save the different profiles automatically, have them saved, but obviously you have to go through and kind of tweak those bits and pieces to do it. We've got a complete range of our gaming boards, so it's available on ITX, Micro ATX and ATX. We also have a specific overclocking range of motherboards as well, which is called the OCs, and we have the standard workstation boards as well, which are based on our ultra durable technologies.
Right, so other than the gaming stuff, what is on this board that's new with the Z97 line?
With the Z97 line, they've obviously changed a few bits and pieces in the chipset to support the new Devil's Canyon CPUs and how those work. The main features that have been added to Gigabyte's range of Z97 is we've added the Serial ATA Express ports onto the board. So what that does is obviously standard Serial ATA 3, what you were getting is 6 gigabytes data transfer rate. With the Serial ATA Express, basically it now puts that to 10 gig. So with large files like 4K movies or 1080p movies and things along those lines, obviously you can move that data around a lot faster, which is generally the idea. The boards themselves, obviously being gaming, being provided with lots of Pci Express slots. We actually have a PXE chip on them as well, which enables giving you some extra Pci Express lanes. So what it means is that when you're running SLI, for example, each one of those slots is running at times 16 instead of running at times 16, times 8, times 4, all those kind of bits and pieces, and slowing down.